All good. Let me get this pulled up. So, and just to understand better, you need help with setting.
Yeah, so I've been on an offer before, I was on a, I don't know if you know, I was on a cold calling offer for an AI agency at like the start of the year. So I do have experience on an offer, but yeah, that's where I picked up most of my confidence. But Dylan, the problem that I'm having right now is I'm running mocks with Jonty.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm running mocks with Jonty, and I'm getting the script and everything, but I want to get it to a point where like I don't want to totally rely on the scripts, and also I'm feeling like the questions I'm asking are off the script, but I want to know how to ask like more like better questions, basically. You know?
Okay. Well, the main thing that you're struggling with essentially is just question framing. Because a lot of people, when they get into sales, or let's say they're in the setting process, they'll stick very closely to the script. You want to think more of it like a structure. So
Yeah,
think of everything that you do as a structure and a sequence. If you ever use software before, you'll notice that like if you click one button, it'll lead to this page, and then you have to click that button to get to this page. So
yeah,
you have your starting and then you have your end point. It's the same thing with your questions in sales. It's you have a question that's going to lead to a sequence of questions to get to an outcome. And a lot of people, they think of their questions one by one. And so what happens is they'll ask a question, and especially with no contextualization, they'll go, "What is your goal?" They get a boring answer like, "Oh, I just want to make more money." And then I have to probe deeper into it again.
yeah,
So number one is understanding if we're going to ask a question, what is the end goal that we're trying to get to? Like, what is the outcome? And then how can we make this initial question as high leverage as possible?
yeah,
So when it comes to your script or your structure, think of it more in like, okay, these are the topics and things that I have to go over and get to. So like maybe when you're setting, you'll go into like, okay, you do small introduction, and then you'll get into like, I need to find out their logistical problems. Then I need to find out their emotional problems, their goals. What are they doing currently on their own to solve XYZ problem to get to XYZ goal? Why is that not working out? And then why come to us? And like that's the basics of the call. And then you'll like fill it in with your actual kind of like methodology. But you're not going to go about it in like the script, right? Because if I sat here and told you, hey, follow this script,
yeah,
not only you sound robotic, but it's just going to be very hard. So
yeah,
my kind of method when it comes to setting, I keep it simple. I'll just go, I do my introduction like, hey, Abdul. Oh yeah, Abdul, you put an application to get some possible help with like your actual trading strategy. And they're like, oh yeah, I did. And then this is where most people get the vague answer. They'll go like, oh, well, what were you hoping to gain out of filling in the application? Or like, what's your goal? And then they'll just get a vague answer like, oh, I just want to make more money. I like to just avoid that altogether. So I go more into like, yeah, I guess like in terms of your actual trading skill set itself, what do you feel like you really need help with? And then even if they do say another vague answer like, oh, I just want to make more money, always bring it back to my structure, which is like, yeah, yeah, of course you want to make more. I guess like in terms of the actual skill set itself, what do you need help with? And they'll be like, oh, I need help with like my strategy or finding confluences. And so you can go into like, okay, I guess like what is it in your strategy that makes you feel it could be a little bit better? Well, it could be better because like I'm losing a lot of trades right now, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, like how much do you think you're really losing because of not being able to like find this kind of right strategy? Oh, I'm
yeah,
losing like, a lot of trades. Like how much is a lot? Oh, it's like 10 trades a month. Okay. And like how much do you think you'd really be making from these trades if you were able to like actually turn those into winning ones? Oh, like obviously I'd make like an extra 10 grand a month. Okay. And then you can get into like, okay, like, and then I'm assuming like kind of the goal here is to like, are you trying to make like full-time income or part-time income with trading? Oh, I'm trying to make full-time. And then you got into like their goal. Maybe they want to replace their job or whatever the case may be. And the thing with setters too is that they're so focused on logistical setting where they only go through logistics, they don't touch the emotional part. But I think it's actually very important that the setters touch the emotional part, which is like, let's say that this person has had a goal of making $20,000 a month through trading for the last 6 months. But the only thing that he really does is he watches YouTube videos and doesn't really take too much action as compared to a person that actually like really does want to make that kind of money. Like that person that's making 20 grand a month obviously would take different types of actions. So you kind of like want to like actually reframe on that. Don't like save that for the closing call because we want to say like we want to basically send our prospects off to the closers like as easy as possible. Like make it a lay down for them if possible. I'm not saying that you need to sit there and objection handle and sell them for an hour on the setting call, but like you can slightly reframe people, right? It's like, yeah, like if we did the math here, like if we just pause for a second and did the math, you said to me your goal was to make 20 grand a month for the last 6 months, right? Yeah. So that's 120 grand that you've lost out on. How does that really sit with you, knowing the situation we're in with, I don't know, maybe they said earlier in the call that they're in a situation where they can't pay the bills or they're struggling to provide for their kids, and you use that as leverage, and they'll be like, oh no, it doesn't sit with me well at all. And then you can go into like from there, it's like, yeah, man, well, what's gonna happen if we continue to do things the same way that we have been, where we're continuing to push things off and we're really only just watching YouTube videos instead of getting the help that we need? Oh, well, I'm not going to be able to do X, Y, and Z, blah, blah. But because like that version of Abdul out there who already has X, Y, Z, is able to do X, Y, Z, like, what do you think he'd be screaming at you to do a little bit differently? Oh, obviously he would tell me to take action, right? So like this time around, given this opportunity where you're able to actually learn from somebody, potentially, what do you think you would actually do differently? Because I don't want you to come into this mentorship and, you know, think it's a waste of your time. And they'll be like, oh, I'll do this, this, and that. You're not going to fully reframe people on a setting call, but you're kind of like slightly reframing people for the closer. And so when you can understand how to like slightly reframe people, or you catch limiting beliefs, like maybe someone says that I had this guy tell me that he only believed that people in their 22 to 25-year-old range were actually making 10 grand a month. He didn't believe it was possible for people younger to make 10 grand a month. So I had to frame him on that on a setting call, because I don't want to set him off to a closing call and then he's going to give the objection. It's going to be harder. I want him just to be reframed, because if they're already reframed on that, the chances of them showing up, especially when you build pain, you build other things, the chances of them showing up to the closing call is way higher too. So you also increase your show up rate. So with these people in the setting call, you got to be able to recognize their limiting beliefs. You got to be able to recognize things that contradict each other, like check them for that. If they say that they don't have the time to do something, but they tell you that all their time is being spent sitting on the couch all day, like that's contradictive, right? And so you're going to call them out for that. You know, when you think of your probing in these setting calls, you'll kind of get a feel for it as you go. It's, in my opinion, it's more of something that's like a skill that's learned over time. But I do this method where it's like, I call it taking something and you set it aside. And I'll give you an example. Like, let's say you're trying to find out someone's goal. Or like, I don't know, let's say you're trying to figure out what someone needs help with. And you're just trying to figure out that they need help with like a certain strategy or whatever. That's what you want to hear out of them. But then they tell you something like, oh, I just want to make more money. So like my method of setting aside would be, yeah, like obviously like a lot of people will come to us because they want to make more money, not less. I guess in terms of the actual skill set. So now like I took his thing of like, I just want to make more money. I set aside like, yeah, of course everyone says that. But in terms of the actual skill set, what do you need help with? And so now I can get the answers out of one. And you're kind of like, as you do more mocks and do live calls as well, like you'll be able to recognize these kind of things from prospects, and you'll be able to like learn that you can just take what the prospect says, set it aside, ask again in a different way to be able to get the real answer that you want. And now it comes into sequencing, right? So now that you have your contextualization of like asking questions, and then you have your like setting aside so you can get your specific answer that you're looking for, it's like, we're not just going one question at a time. I'm not going to ask someone what their goal is, find out they want to make 20 grand a month, not acknowledge it and just say like, okay, and move on to a question that's unrelated. I'm going to say like, okay, well, again, like how long have we had this goal of making 20 grand a month? You know, like I'm going to build on that question. And the goal is like, I've asked this question, now I'm going to lead the conversation. Because what happens is, if you look at like even a lot of calls on setters and closers, what happens is the prospect will be doing majority of the talking, which is fine. But the rookie mistake is that like the closer or setter thinks they're probing because they're asking questions, but they're only asking questions based on the prospect saying. They're not asking questions that like probe into that and change the direction of the convo, right? Like you get what I'm saying? Like there's a difference between asking questions constantly about what someone's saying versus like asking a question about what they're saying but changing the direction. Like you should be leading the conversation. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You're not saying like does it actually make sense though? Like kind of re-explain it back to me.
Yeah, I get that. So you need to ask the questions, not the questions based on what they're saying. You need to say the questions to lead the conversation in a certain direction. Correct.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's exactly what you're trying to do. So the next thing too is acknowledgement, right? Because your prospects need to feel heard, understood, empathized with. And where majority of people go wrong is I might tell you as a prospect, let's just say, I don't know, let's say you're selling fitness to me. I am a overweight father of 2 kids, and I'm struggling enough already with my own self-confidence. But these kids, they're younger. They want to go out and play on the playground all the time. But I feel embarrassed because I can't play with them because when I do, I'm always wheezing, I'm out of breath, and I'm embarrassed when other parents look at me. And so that's why like I feel like I can't be there in my kids' lives as a father. Right? Like that's very deep. If someone's telling you that like kind of stuff, like it's very, very deep. But a lot of people go wrong because they'll just go, okay, that makes sense. Totally understandable.
Yeah.
100%. And they move on to a question that's unrelated, right? Like if you were in that father's position and you heard someone say that someone just told you, oh, totally understandable right away. Like, would you feel like they're actually listening to you?
Definitely not.
Right. I fucking wouldn't. I'd be like,
Yeah.
I'd be like, fuck you. So the main thing is like, especially when you're pausing with responses and people are giving pain like that, I like to pause and be like, wow, yeah, I can imagine how difficult it is to see the other parents and, seeing them play with their children in the way that you would want to. Like, how long has this kind of stress been, you know, attacking you? Oh, like it's been attacking me for the last 6 months, right? Like that's like true acknowledgement right there. Lack of acknowledgement is when people say like, oh, okay, yeah, totally understandable. It's like people will say totally understandable or make sense, but they don't understand, right? So these are the things you want to focus on in your setting. Like you got to really make sure that you're acknowledging these people. You're acknowledging
Yeah.
what they say deeply. Because if they feel heard, understood, empathized with, they're gonna do what when you
They're
ask them
gonna
questions?
trust you. They're gonna
They're
trust
gonna
you, and
trust
they're
you.
gonna answer you honestly.
Yeah. Like aside from just honest answers though, what type of answers are they gonna give us?
More detailed answers.
Right?
Yeah, I think more
Very detailed.
detailed answers. They're gonna give you more that you can, build on.
Exactly. They're gonna really open up to you. And that's what we want. Because the last thing you want is to have, I don't know, some guy that's just giving you an answer like, I just want to make more money. Why do you want to make more money? Because I don't like my job. And it's like now you get stuck in this loop of boring question, boring answer, boring question, boring answer. And then you're on a call
Yeah,
for like 17 minutes and you've gotten
yeah,
nowhere, right? So it's
yeah,
very different, right? And so once you've kind of gotten that like discovery phase down of that setting call, and these setting calls generally like I like to keep them 6 to 8 minutes long. That's kind of like my sweet spot personally. You got like all your information, you maybe slightly reframe a little bit. Now they have like a newer way of thinking. They've defended this new way of thinking. So they're kind of like reframed. Now it's like I like to become like a doctor, right? Because we sell in a way like we're therapists for doctors. We're not here to push the product onto people because we don't sell the
mhm,
product. We sell the outcome. And our
yeah,
product and service is really just a bridge to get there. And obviously we keep the people's best interests in mind when we're selling to them. We're not just here for the money. But I do what's called like a pain diagnosis, right? So like once I figured out that I've gotten everything that I feel like I need, I do like a double check. And I'd be like honestly, it seems like to me, man, you're dealing with like X, Y, and Z and kind of like trying to get to X, Y, and Z like outcome. Um, and they'll be like, yeah. If they say yes, bro, yeah, that's exactly what I'm trying to do. Boom, you know that you've done everything right. If they'll go like, kinda, you're gonna have to backtrack a little bit because then they're not fully sold, and that person's probably not going to show up when you book them. Because another
yeah,
thing that setters don't recognize is this, right? And we'll get into it like a little deeper on, but just like a small topic right now, right? People will book in, they'll be like, yeah, that time works for me, and then they just forget about you. The next day, when you call them up for their appointment, they're in a whole different fucking universe. They forgot about you because you didn't build enough pain, enough acknowledgement, enough urgency. You didn't reframe them. You didn't really fully get their pain out. So like that's why that we do that kind of like diagnosis check where we diagnose their pain. And then from there, I like to maybe like send them a nurture resource and then you can like get into the qualification if you need to qualify on the setting call. Some offers will have you triage and then qualify on the triage, whatever the process like for the offer, that's kind of like different offer to offer.
Yeah.
Then you get into the booking. This is the most important part that people don't understand. So, in my personal opinion, this whole thing where people do this like fake time slots is bullshit. I hate it. People will say like, "Oh, we're only available at this time and this time." Okay, well, why are we doing that? Like, we're trying to make ourselves look busy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, what? Like if this person already wants to buy from us, if they're already a warm lead, why are we doing that? It doesn't give you any more authority to say that like, oh, I'm only available at this time. So what I like to get into is like, yeah, you did all your process. Now you just get into like, okay, like what day works better for you to like actually meet with the coach. That way you guys can go over like actual game plan, like today or tomorrow. Oh, tomorrow works. Okay. Like you thinking like more evening, afternoon, maybe even in the morning. Oh, like yeah, after what time you thinking? And then they'll say like 6 p.m. Okay, yeah, 6 p.m. Let me double check for you. And then you can build this. You can still do the fake urge, like fake kind of busy thing. You can be like, oh, yeah, let me check for you. Um, Give me a second here. Okay, yeah, 6 p.m. does work. Yeah. And then book them in. But before you book them in, make sure they like send them a resource and like actually as a kind of a bonus for you. I sent over a video. It's gonna like help you with understand X, Y, and Z. So maybe you talked about trading strategy earlier. Yeah, like it actually helps you with finding your trading strategy. And a lot of people, even before hopping on the call with our coach, just by watching the video alone, they're able to solve XYZ problem. Um, do you think like maybe you could watch that once we hop off here? Like, yeah, man, of course. Okay, yeah, pull it up. Let me make sure the link works because sometimes it doesn't really work. Oh yeah, let me pull it up. You have them pull up the link, and then you just do a little good Irish goodbye, have them watch the video. So they're
Yeah.
nurtured watching content. Later on, you'll triage them. If you need me to pause and go back through anything, let me know because I know I've been yapping too. I'll send you the file of them after.
Yeah. It's cool. It's cool. It's cool.
Okay, cool. So next is the triage, right? So triage is very, very important because let's say you book someone on a Monday, but you book them for Thursday. By the time Thursday
Yeah.
rolls around, like I said earlier, they're in a whole different universe. Okay, like we're on fucking Earth. These guys have figured out somehow to get to Mars. So we got to like talk to them in between, right? So a triage is very, very important. A triage, especially if you had like a deep emotional conversation with someone on a triage call. What I personally like to do is I'll call them up, and instead of going like, "Hey, are we all good for 6 p.m.?" I'll go, "Hey, Abdul, it's Dylan. I know it's kind of out of the blue, but I was thinking back on everything you said about your mom. Maybe like they talked about their mom. Um, yeah, I honestly relate to it really deeply. I just want to let you know that like I'm here for you, man, because I feel like I've gone through something similar. Even like then they feel like really emotionally connected to you. I got this down to a science. Look at this, like I had these like fake tears, but like I've gotten it down to a fucking science. So it's like now you build this connection where it's like, holy fuck, like this person's here for me. They understand me. They've acknowledged this stuff from me. I would feel horrible if I didn't show up to this meeting that they booked with me, right? Because
Mm.
like subconsciously, if you booked a meeting with a stranger, you don't give a fuck about that person if you don't show up. But if it was your best friend or like someone that was important to you, you would show up because you care about them. Because people obviously put others before themselves. So we come at this angle as like, hey, I'm here for you, blah, 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 blah. Like talk about their situation a little bit more. Take the time. Take the time to really nurture this lead. I think a lot of setters, they try to like get through every lead as fast as possible. But what if we can have quality, right? Build quality. Spend a few minutes talking about them. And then lead into like, yeah, man, like I guess I want you to get the right help. And you're hopping on call with Jackson, like I said, and he's a really, really good guy. He's amazing at what he does. I want to see you win. And let's say everything works out, that we were able to get you that help. How much would you say that you have set aside to like invest back into yourself? Oh, I have like X, Y, and Z set aside. Okay, cool, man. Don't make it a big scene. I think when people
Yeah.
triage or like people qualify, they're like, I have 10 grand. These motherfuckers will like be giggling, smiling ear to ear, like that 10 grand is amazing. I don't even talk about it. I don't care how much money you have. I'm not going to mention anything about it. Okay, cool. Yeah. Yeah, also, did you watch that video the other day that I sent you? Yeah, dude, what do you think about it? Was it able to help you? Dude, it was able to help me so much. Yeah, that's awesome, man. Yeah, like I think this call is really gonna help. They're gonna go over X, Y, and Z. So make sure like when you're booking them too, like they need to understand what the call is for and what they're kind of like gonna go over. Don't like tell them in detail, but you can kind of like give them a summary, like, hey, they're gonna go over X, Y, and Z, blah, blah, blah. So they know what it's for. Because like again, like let's say you booked an appointment for something, but you forgot what it's for, you're not gonna show up. But if you knew exactly what it's for, you felt like you connected to the person that you talked to previously, you're gonna show up. And especially if there's already this pain and urgency behind it. So like hopefully you can kind of take some kind of notes from what I said about like the setting process and the triaging. But like in my
Yeah.
opinion, that's how you master the actual like skill set wise of like setting. And like go over it more like a structure. You don't go word for word. That's why I went off scripts or courses and close this
Yeah.
question. That's why I only do like the one-on-one mentorship because I think it's more beneficial to people. But the next thing too is more of like a mindset of a setter. I think that you don't want to be a pillow princess setter. Okay. We don't breed pillow princesses. Okay. So as a setter, you're the backbone of these info companies, right? Without you, they have no revenue, they have no clients, they have no leads, nothing. And so I'm
Yeah.
not saying to have an ego, but I'm saying that like you should be doing everything, right? You should be doing the inbound. If you're asked to do outbound, or there is people in the pipeline that you can outbound to, like past leads that didn't show up, or people that didn't close, call them, follow up with people, upsell people, ask for referrals, like obviously track your numbers and your data and be able to read your data and see like what you're doing wrong. So maybe like you called 10 people, 10 of them picked up, but only 3 of them you got past the 30-second mark, like the 30-second into the call. And you're like, fuck, I need to change my opener, right? Like
Yeah.
that's data that you can read and like get better. So as long as you're doing those things, you're like not treating it like a pillow princess where you're like only doing inbounds, like you're willing to actually work. This is an industry and a skill set that like will take you very, very far because it will lead into closing. We all know what closing leads into. It's like fucking
Yeah.
Miami gurus that sit there, swing
Yeah.
martinis.
Yeah.
Um, so like if you could just master setting, you master the skill set, the mindset of setting, the work ethic, and you lead into closing, you can go very, very far, right? Because it's not like just about like making money high ticket sales. Again, like sales is more of a lifetime skill that you're going to use the rest of your life. Like I don't know if I don't really know you personally, but maybe you want to become an entrepreneur later down the line, like years from now. To start a
Yeah.
business, you need to understand sales. Like no business without sales is a business. There's no revenue, there's no clients, there's nothing. So sales will help you in your relationship. You get the whole spiel. I'm not going to yap about it, but it helps with everything that you need. And so like all the
Yeah.
principles that you're going to need for those things later down the line in life, start right now with the setting. Um, I guess what kind of questions do you have about this setting process and everything? That way I can go over everything in detail.
So with the triaging, you kind of just find out what funds they have aside, and as soon as they like say it and get it out of the way, you can just move on. You don't really talk about that too much, just so
Yeah,
it's
I
not
just
like
personally move on. Yeah.
yeah,
Um, you're in the UK, right? So you're probably not going to
yeah,
recognize like US area codes. Like in the US, we have like fucking, I don't know, 50,000 area codes. In the UK, I think you guys just have like +44 or something like that. But
yeah,
you can even joke and be like let's say they have an 818 area code, which is like California. You can joke and be like, "Hey, I know, I'm from the UK, but I know it's like your phone number. Are you from Canada?" And then I do that like right after they tell me how much money they have. So it's like, oh, I have 10 grand. Oh, cool, man. That's cool. I noticed your area code, by the way. Are you in Canada? Oh, no, I'm in like Florida, whatever. Oh, no way. How is it down there? Blah, blah. Small talk. Keep it very short. Moving to the next point, booking them in. And so like we just forget about this whole thing. And so like the thing is like the reason why you diagnose pain and like offer to send over a free resource before you ask how much money they have is because like they're open up to you, they trust you. It doesn't seem like you're just there for their money. And then once they tell you how much money they have, you just like move on so they forget about it. It's like I don't know if you ever like went to the doctor and got like a flu shot. They like
yeah,
distract
yeah,
you and they like fucking hit you with a needle. Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
that's kind
yeah,
of what we're doing. Just like
yeah,
kind of distracting them before we put the needle in and then distract them afterwards. So That's what you're doing. But I think like if you could take these principles from the setting, I mean, I wish I could tell you that there's more magic sauce, but reality is you just got to take everything that I gave you here and really just put it into play, put it into action, and do it every single day. Show up to the group calls. You can book more of these one-on-one calls as well. Do mock calls. As long as we see that you're showing up every single day, we have offers ready. I mean,
Yeah,
yeah, you have everything that you need here in Closers
yeah,
Collection to make money. So, yeah.
yeah.
Anything else?
If I send you a Fathom right now, could you quickly? It's just like an 8-minute Fathom. Could you go over it, please?
Yeah, we can go over it. Let's do it.
Yeah, I'll send it right